Right. Good morning. Hello, everybody. It's a fantastic audience. We're very honored to be here. I hope you're still all fit and awake. We have, I think, a very intriguing question that we want to go through with you. And that question is, do we have the technological tools and the acceptance from the consumer base to start using the face as the primary key to our digital assets and our digital identities? And we're also going to look at what would the requirements be, what would we want from such a solution to make that work. When you think about how we use the face in the real world, we use the face as the primary identifier to know each other. This is how we build trust in each other. And often, the best solutions are the ones where we just copy what we do in the real world and we transport it into the online world. So it would be great if we could use the face to identify each other on the internet, online. Just to get it out of the way, quick word on who Jumio is. We're the market leader in identity verification based on government-issued IDs, AI, and face biometrics. We've verified over 170 million consumers to date, and we work with some of the largest brands on the planet: HSBC, Airbnb, Coinbase, United Airlines, and many others. So now back to our question, back to our topic. When we look at identity over the course of the lifetime of a consumer, we really see these two moments in time. We have the initial identity proofing, and then we have the authentication. So onboarding, account opening, and then the ongoing interaction. Customer goes away, they come back, we now need to reestablish that it is them interacting with our products or services. Historically, these two have been completely disconnected, completely separate. So we have separate vendors operating in these two bubbles. We use different methods to get there, and there is a broken connection between the identity proofing and the authentication stage. Very often, the authentication system doesn't know who has been going through the identity proofing stage. We don't know whose biometric it is we are enrolling. We don't know whose fingerprint it is that we are registering. And so that is definitely something that creates risks for the businesses, but also very often leads to suboptimal user experience, where they have to go through steps multiple times to be enrolled, or even see completely different user interfaces as they go through the journey of their user lifetime. Okay, so now diving a little bit deeper into the identity proofing, the shining stars of that segment have been the data-driven methods over the years, over the last decade. So the user gives us a first name, a last name, date of birth, address, social security number. We go away, we check them out in databases, we maybe come up with questions to ask them. That just doesn't work that way anymore, because the data is all out there, be it hacks or leaks or people just posting all their information on social media. Everything you need to know to pass through such a test is already out there and can be found. And keep in mind, the fraudsters don't want to necessarily impersonate someone specific. They just need an account that is not in their name. So any record that is out there poses a potential threat. The digital attributes analysis helps a little bit, can act as a band-aid. So that is, where is the user physically? So location services, device services, but it can't overcome the shortfall of these data-driven methods. The digital attributes, they have their own place in a fraud ecosystem, of course, but they are just not good enough as a band-aid for these traditional methods. Now, the checking of government-issued IDs is something that has been rapidly developing over the last couple of years. This is now a well-understood problem, and it has become a very competitive market. Just in the last 2 days, we've seen lots of companies demonstrate here solutions where an ID is scanned or a face is scanned or a combination of both. This definitely has huge potential. And especially the liveness detection that comes with the face is really, really powerful. So we can establish that the owner of the ID, the person that is pictured on the photo ID, is actually live and present at the moment of transaction. So really, really powerful fraud filter. In authentication world, you're going to see a big push towards passwordless in the next couple of years. This year, next year. Even the big tech giants like Microsoft are getting behind this. They are, with Microsoft Hello, they're now really pushing the passwordless authentication. Across all the industries, everybody agrees username and passwords not strong enough, especially not in the financial industry sector. Knowledge-based authentication, again, has pretty much the same problems as we discussed on the previous slide. And token is something that is great if you have a confined user base, employees or something that you can control, but isn't good for mass market consumer products. And even out of band that many of you probably are betting on, the security experts have been telling us that there is a risk inherent in the systems that we use to send text messages. And not just 2 weeks ago here in the UK, one of the out-of-band methods was defeated and created damages for one of the big banks here in the UK. The biometric authentication is the missed opportunity here across the industry. There's so much more that we can do with it. The user acceptance side is already checked off. The big device manufacturers have paved that way for us. With Apple's Face ID and the fingerprint sensors that are built into all the modern devices, the consumer is now super happy to unlock things, apps, devices with their faces and with their fingerprints. That is already established. And so now it's on us to use these methods and create product and services out there. But be careful. The device built-in biometrics, they have some risks with them as well. And that risks are that, first of all, you don't know who all is enrolled into these devices. Very often, the device owner will enroll a significant other, kids, and you, as the third-party application that is running on the device, you don't get to know who was positively authenticated. You just know that a user has been authenticated positively using that device. And so even a fraudster that can get hold of the 4-digit passcode that stands between him and enrolling his biometric into the device can then take use of that gap in the security. And last but not least, you don't know how secure these biometric sensors are. There are so many phones out there. Some may have an additional infrared camera to do the face biometric. Others might not. Some have very good fingerprint readers that are very solid. Others might not. And you don't want to have a long list of devices that you trust and don't trust. And that's the inherent problem with the device-based biometrics. Okay. So what would be the key requirements then? What do we want from such a solution? So first of all, super important, we want a frictionless, easy-to-use, wow user experience. Something that really can differentiate the brand. Something that you can be proud of. Super important. We also want to keep the fraudsters out. Equally important. We need something that is practically spoof-proof. We want to create that unbroken chain of trust throughout the entire lifespan of a user, life cycle, I should say, where at the identity proofing stage, we're already enrolling the biometric for the authentication system so that we can use the same method throughout the entire journey. And then last but not least, we want this as one integrated solution where you don't need to vet and buy from different vendors, but you have something that you can get in one easy package that is ready to use. And we've looked at the market, and we didn't really find that, and so we've built it. And so 2 days ago, this is pretty much what we've launched here at Finovate, and we want to show you that it is possible to create such solutions. What we have here is a demo that starts with a very oversimplified onboarding process. We fully understand that onboarding for a bank account or a loan takes much more steps, but we'll focus on the identity proofing stage. So we'll start here, and as Reinhard goes into this, we'll see the standard Jumio interface in a second. All right, so in this case, the application thinks we're in the United Kingdom. It's pretty right. As you have probably heard, we are not from around here. Reinhard's going to use his Austrian driver's license for this demonstration. This is the standard interface. He's capturing his ID. It's very easy and straightforward. So now we have the government-issued ID on file. So hold on here a second. So what's happening now is that we are entering that second stage. And for that stage, we have partnered with a company called FaceTech out of the United States. They have built a genius solution that is easy to use and is extremely strong and spoof-proof. They're pretty much the only company on the planet right now that has reached a level 2 certification against the presentation attack detection ISO standard, which means there are over 3,000 standardized tests of paper printouts, screens, videos, masks, puppets that are used to test the spoof-proofness of the authentication solution. So what we're going to do now is we're going to, first of all, capture an image of the face so we have it on file. Secondly, we're going to compare it with the face that is on the driver's license. We're going to establish liveness, so we have a physically alive person here and not just a paper printout. And we're going to enroll Reinhard into the biometric authentication system that can be used throughout his entire user life cycle. All right, so that's the enrollment. Again, we understand there's more to account opening than that, but that's the identity proofing. And now we imagine it's a few days later, he has gotten his account, he's using it actively, he has a balance, he wants to create a wire transfer. So he's transferring money, and the transaction is here, everything is prepared, the only thing that's missing is the authentication from the account holder. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. And you see, it's that same easy-to-use, wow user experience that helps us authenticate the user and give them access to the services and authenticate. So that's it. That's all he has to do. Wire transfer went through. So what can we do with tools like that? What can we do with a product like that? So first of all, it enables you to go completely passwordless. The authentication is strong enough so that you can do that. You also should use it as an alternative to the device-based authentication if you're already using the biometrics in there. It allows you to unlock certain specific sensitive transactions, changes to the account, creating wire transfers that are above a certain threshold, and so on. And it's, of course, relevant also not only for the financial industry sector, but across all the industries. So opening car rental doors, going back to hotel rooms, even something like online universities where people need to take tests and they need to be re-verified often. All right, so in summary, the reason this is a game changer is because it creates a user experience that is consistent. It is cross-platform, so you saw that we used it on the web and we used it on the mobile. It works exactly the same way. The users understand what to do. It's a solution that is a marriage of two best-in-class solutions, the identity proofing from Jumio and the liveness and authentication from FaceTech. And we create that unbroken chain of trust from the point of enrollment and identity proofing towards the end of the user lifecycle and everything in between. And so, yes, absolutely, we do have the means and we do have the acceptance from the customer base to create solutions like that. Thank you very much.